en casa. We are going to learn to describe houses, and different rooms in the house, and we're going to work with colors and different vocabulary to describe houses and different buildings. Okay, so let's go to página 97, and here, well, I'll let you take a closer look at the content, but on your own. But this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to go over the vocabulary for the house. In pronunciation, we're going to work with the letters H, G, and J, H, J, y G. We're going to start with irregular verbs, and also work with vocabulary to describe furniture and other household objects, household chores, and we're going to be using some of these verbs that we learned here to talk about household chores. Colors and different expressions with tener. We learned the verb tener in the chapter when I have a brother, or she has two grandmothers, and different things like that. We use the verb tener, and like I keep telling you all the time, things come back. Okay, because in a language everything is related. Okay, so don't forget what you learned before, because it will come back, especially verbs that are so common. Like the verb tener and the verb ser and the verb estar that you just finished in this last chapter. Okay, numbers, we're gonna keep going up, and then we're also going to work a little bit with the expression I. When you describe a house, you want to describe what there is or there are in different rooms, so we're going to work with that expression. Okay, so the first thing we do in each chapter is go over some vocabulary that we will need to form different sentences, and put together the vocabulary with the verbs and adjectives and different things like that. So this vocabulary for la casa. Okay, so we're going to start here in the bottom, describing different parts of the house, like el jardín, the front yard, el jardín. And remember, in your ebook you can click here and you can hear the pronunciation. Okay, so take advantage of that. La sala, the living room, la sala, el balcón, the balcony, la oficina, the office, la escalera, the stairs, la escalera, el garaje, la cocina, the kitchen, el comedor, the dining room. And if you notice, comedor comes from the word comer, the place where you eat. El comedor. El dormitorio, the bedroom. El baño, the bathroom. El techo, the roof. And el altillo, the attic. Okay, so practice those words. And here you have a few more useful words. El cuarto means a room. Any room is el cuarto. Okay, el piso, it's the floor. It can mean the floor, as in, where you stand, or it can also mean the story, like when you have a 2-3 story high building, we call the different floors los pisos. La planta baja is the ground floor. Okay, in English you call this the first floor. In Spanish we call it the ground floor. And the second floor, what would be the second floor in English, in Spanish is the first floor. Okay, because you have the ground floor first and then the first floor. Okay, so la planta baja, the ground floor, la planta baja, and then el primer piso, which is this one. Primer means first, but in English it would be the second. And el segundo piso is the second floor, which would be the attic in Spanish. This would be the second floor. Okay, planta baja, primer piso, segundo piso, el altillo. Okay, el sótano, the basement, el sótano, el suelo, the floor, and el tercer piso would be the third floor, which in English would be the fourth floor. Okay, muy bien. Piso or suelo are used for floor, all right, as in where you stand, what you stand on, okay, is the floor. But piso can also be used for story, the first story, second story, third story. Okay, muy bien. Vamos a la página 99, and you're going to be doing some activities with the vocabulary, okay? And you have an explanation in my Spanish lab about the pronunciation of H, J, y G, okay? So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I can find it, it's right here, okay? You have an explanation here that talks about the pronunciation of these letters. In Spanish, H is always silent, okay? It's never pronounced at the beginning of the sentence or in the middle of the word, excuse me, or in the middle of the word, like hombre, hola, hay, hora, ahora, alcohol, prohibido, okay? So it's always silent. The letter J, J, is pronounced similar to the English H in hot, but a little stronger, okay? Garaje, jardín, jueves, baja. It never has the sound J, okay? Never, as in just, never. It's always H, okay? The letter G is pronounced similar to the English G, G in goal, except when it's followed by E or I, okay? So we have the sound G, as in garaje, globo, guitarra, gordo, guerra, gusta, gracias. Okay? Notice the word guitarra, you have G-U-I, G-U-I. And in the word guerra, you have G-U-E. When you have those two combinations, G-U-I and G-U-E, in those two cases, the U is silent. Okay, so you're going to say guitarra and guerra. Guitarra, guerra. Only when it's G-U-I and G-U-E. But this is all the sound G. Garaje, globo, guitarra, gordo, guerra, gusta, gracias. It can also be in the middle of the word, okay, not always in the beginning. Now, when G is followed by E or I directly, without the U in the middle, it is pronounced similar to the J. Actually, it's the same sound. Similar to the English H in happy or hot, okay, when it's followed by E or I, E or E. Generalmente, gitano, agencia, agitado, okay? J and G never have the sound J, as in English, never, okay? So here, for example, you have some words. Hay, jardín, garaje, hospital, pongo, baja, generoso, okay? So, especially with the letter G, make sure that you take into consideration these two cases, okay? Muy bien. I'm going to get rid of that. Muy bien, so you're going to practice some with the vocabulary for house, and we're going to go to the irregular verbs section. Okay? Algunos verbos irregulares. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Verbos irregulares. Okay. So we looked at regular verbs, and they are verbs that have a pattern. Okay? They conjugate the same way, and the root of the verb stays the same, and all you do is change the ending of the verb. Okay? So in the present tense, irregular verbs are still going to have the endings that you learned. Okay? The endings that you learn with the regular verbs. But what makes them irregular is that they don't completely follow the pattern all the time. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 verbs here that we put them in a group because they have the same characteristic, in that the only verb conjugation that is irregular is for yo. See? For yo, it's going to be irregular, okay? Because the ending is going to be different, okay? The ending is going to be different. See, yo conocer, right? It's not going to be conjugated like a regular verb for yo. It's going to be conozco. It's pretty irregular, okay? The same thing with dar, okay? It's not going to follow the norm for regular verbs, the yo form, yo doy. Conocer means to be acquainted with, dar means to give. So these are very common words that we use all the time, Okay, so it's very important that you know how to use them. Hacer, we use that word all the time, to do or to make. Okay, and poner, to put or to place. Salir, to leave or to go out. We learned in the last chapter that the verb llegar, which means to arrive. Arrive, this means to leave or to go out. Traer, to bring, and ver, to see. So we put them all together because the only irregularity that these verbs show is only in the yo form. Conozco, yo doy, yo hago. See, it doesn't really follow the endings like the regular verbs. Yo pongo, yo salgo, yo traigo, y yo veo. The rest of the persons conjugate like regular verbs that you learned in the last chapter. See, the endings are the same. Es, hemos, eis, en. Okay, so the only one that is going to be irregular is the yo form. Okay, so that is the one group of irregular verbs. The ones that are irregular only in the yo form. Okay, grupo número dos. Grupo número dos. Okay, verbs like venir, it's an ir verb. Okay, it's an ir verb, and a verb that ends in ir. Okay, so the ending of the verbs are like the ones that you learned for the regular verbs. The yo form changes a little bit because you have to add a G-O, not just an O. Okay, you can't just drop the ending and add an O like with regular verbs. You have to add a G. So the yo form is very particular. Okay, this verb is one of those that we call, well, it doesn't really have a name, but verbs that change from, the root changes from E to IE. So you can notice here, starting with tu, is venir is the root. This E is going to change to IE. Okay? Yo vengo, tú vienes, él viene, él, ella, usted viene, nosotros venimos y venís, don't change. Ustedes vienen, ellos y ellas vienen. Okay? Nosotros y vosotras never show irregularities. Okay? They're always the same as, they're always regular. Okay? Nosotros y vosotras in the present tense. Okay? All the others are going to show this irregularity in that the root changes. That's why they're called irregular. But the endings are the same that you learned before. Okay? Except here in the yo form. Okay, so this is another group. Group 2. Verbs that change from E to IE in the root. And then we have a third group. Okay? All the verbs, the verb forms, have a spelling change except in the nosotros and vosotros. These verbs, let's see here a bit. Decir means to say or to tell. Oír means to hear. Poder means to be able to. And querer means to want or to love. Okay? So in this group, decir, these are verbs that change the E of the root into an I. Okay? See, the root is decir, I mean the infinitive is decir. But when you conjugate it, the E changes into an I. Yo digo, see, the yo form changes quite a bit. Okay? Digo, have to add the G. Tú dices. Okay? Instead of the E, it's going to be E. And the endings are the same that you already know. Tú dices, usted dice, él, ella dice. Sí, nosotros and vosotros are always regular. They never change. Okay? Ustedes dicen and dicen. Okay? Oír is the same as decir. Digo, oigo. And then the I here in the root changes into a Y. Okay? Tú oyes, usted oye, él, ella, oye. Nosotros and vosotros is going to conjugate in a regular form. Ustedes, ellos y ellas oyen. Okay, so big change here. Verbs like poder change from the root from O to UE. UE, from O to UE. Okay, so instead of decir puedo, that would be the regular form, the root changes from O to UE. Yo puedo, tú puedes, él puede, él, ella puede. Nosotros and vosotros, conjugate regularly. Ustedes, ellos, y ellas pueden. Okay? And querer is a verb that changes from to ie. To ie. Yo quiero, tú quieres, él quiere, él, ella quiere, nosotros and vosotros, conjugate in the regular form. Ustedes, ellos, y ellas quieren. Okay? So, changes in the root, and especially in the yo form, you have to be careful because some of these are forms that are very irregular. All right? So these are the irregular verbs, the group of irregular verbs that we're going to be working with. Okay, so try to get them down and practice a lot with them. And tomorrow you're going to practice some more, okay, with irregular verbs. So try to get this down and do as much practice as possible. Okay, so nos vemos mañana. Hasta mañana. Adiós. Estamos en el capítulo número 3. So yesterday we started with irregular verbs. So we saw 3 different groups, and if you need to review, go back and maybe watch that part of the video from yesterday, because this is something that you really need to get. Okay, so you have hopefully been doing some of the activities that you had for yesterday, which were just a few, and today you're going to continue practicing with more activities for irregular verbs. And you are also going to complete this activity, the nota cultural, about ¿dónde viven los españoles? Okay, so some interesting facts about architecture and the different types of houses that you can find in Spain. Okay, la página 106, we have more vocabulary. We have the second section of vocabulary. Los muebles y otros objetos de la casa. Los muebles, muebles means furniture, okay? Los muebles y otros objetos de la casa. Furniture and other objects in the house. So we're going to elaborate on describing rooms, okay? So we have here la sala y el comedor. The living room and the dining room together. La sala y el comedor. Okay, and some vocabulary here. El sillón, the armchair. El sofá, the sofa. El estante de libros, the bookcase. El estante de libros. La lámpara, the lamp. La alfombra, the carpet. La alfombra, the carpet. Muy bien. En el baño tenemos, en el baño tenemos el lavabo, the sink, el lavabo, el bidet, which is something that you probably have not seen unless you have traveled to Latin America and Europe, el inodoro, the toilet, la ducha, the shower, la ducha, the shower, and la bañera, the bathtub, la bañera. And you can practice with saying these prices. These prices are in euros, okay? So practice saying these prices so you can practice your numbers. Okay, en el dormitorio tenemos la cama, the bed, la cama, la manta, the blanket, la colcha, the bedspread, las sábanas, the sheets, la almohada, the pillow, y el tocador, the dresser, el tocador, the dresser. Muy bien. We have the word for mirror here in either one. Okay, the mirror here is el espejo, el espejo. I'll spell it out for you. El espejo is the mirror, and you have one in the bathroom and you have one here in the bedroom. Okay, muy bien, el espejo. En la cocina tenemos el refrigerador, la estufa, the stove, el microondas, the microwave, Y él lava platos, the dishwasher. Lava platos. This comes from the word lavar, which means to wash, and platos means dishes. Okay. Muy bien. So other useful words, we have amueblado. It's an adjective and it means furnished. When you talk about an apartment that comes furnished, you say el apartamento está amueblado. Okay, amueblado. Or if it's casa, it's feminine, you would say la casa está amueblada. El armario, the closet or the cabinet. La cosa is thing. El cuadro, here that this would be cuadro, the picture or the painting. El mueble is a piece of furniture, a piece of furniture. Up here you have los muebles, would be furniture in general. El mueble is just a specific piece of furniture. Los muebles, furniture. El objeto, object. Okay. Muy bien. So all you have to do today is practice some more with the irregular verbs and then do some activities to reinforce the vocabulary that you just learned. Okay. Muy bien. You have some vocabulary here to speak about the location of things in a room. Okay. Remember that when we talk about location, we use the verb estar. So you have to the right of, a la derecha de, a la izquierda de, al lado de, encima de, y sobre. Okay? So you could say, for example, la lámpara está al lado de la cama. The lamp is next to the bed, okay? Or beside. Okay? Muy bien. So you're going to have some activities with vocabulary and describing what there is in a room. Okay? Muy bien. And I believe that's all for today. Pretty light day. And you have ¿Cómo andas? Número uno. How are you doing? That's what it means. ¿Cómo andas? It's the same thing as similar to ¿Cómo estás? Okay? So these are the topics that we have covered so far. So you can see if you feel confident or if there's any of them that you need to go back to and need to review. Okay? Muy bien. So practice with your vocabulary and your irregular verbs, and we will continue mañana. Okay? Hasta mañana. Ciao. Get in chores, and some of the verbs that we're going to see here are regular and some are not. Okay? So we have an apartment building, un edificio, and we're going to be covering some vocabulary for chores that you do around the house. Okay? So we have different people, Javier, Teresa, Donato, Leticia, all around the neighborhood, the building. Okay? And we have some verbs to describe what they're doing. Okay? So for example, we have arreglar, to straighten up or to fix. Okay, arreglar is regular. So if you know how to conjugate AR verbs, you can conjugate arreglar. Yo arreglo, tú arreglas, él arregla, etc. Okay, ayudar means to help, and it is also regular. Okay, ayudar means to help. Cocinar or preparar la comida, to cook or to prepare a meal. Cocinar and preparar are both regular verbs. And so far, all these four are verbs that end in AR, so you know how to conjugate them. Guardar is to put away or to keep, and it's also regular. Hacer la cama, to make the bed. Hacer is not regular. It's irregular because it changes in the yo form of the conjugation. Okay, hacer la cama. We are going to, I believe we're going to, oh, maybe not. Okay, hacer la cama. Let me show you here because the book does not show it. The conjugation of hacer. It's yo hago, and then all the other persons are conjugate regular, as a regular verb. Tú haces, él, ella, usted, hace, nosotros o nosotras. Hacemos, vosotros o vosotras. Hacéis, ellos, ellas. Oh, perdón. Yes, that's right. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, and hacen. Okay? So the only irregularity in hacer is in the yo form. Okay? Yo hago. And the rest are conjugated in the regular way. Okay? Lavar los platos, to wash dishes. Lavar, that's where the word dishwasher comes from. Lava platos. Lavar is regular also. Yo lavo, tú lavas, perdón. Yo lavo, tú lavas, él lava, nosotros lavamos. To clean, and it is also regular. Pasar la aspiradora, to vacuum, and it is also regular. Is irregular only in the yo form. Okay, only in the yo form. Yo pongo, and then the other ones conjugate in the regular way. Tú pones, él, ella, usted pone, nosotros o nosotras ponemos, vosotros o vosotras ponéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes ponen. Okay? So, only irregular in the yo form. Okay? Muy bien. Sacar la basura, to take out the garbage. Sacar is also regular. Y sacudir los muebles, to dust. Sacudir is also a regular verb. So the only two irregular verbs you have are poner and hacer. Okay? Another useful word that you can use is la ropa, clothes or clothing. Okay? Muy bien. So looking at these people use these verbs, conjugate them in the right way. For example, we can say Javier. What is Javier doing? He's kind of like picking up or straightening up. So we can say Javier arregla su dormitorio. Javier is straightening up his bedroom. Or we can say el señor Sánchez sacude los muebles. We can say Leticia, que está aquí, Leticia y Donato, that would be ellos. Leticia y Donato lavan los platos. Okay, so I think you're going to have some activities like that in my Spanish lab. Okay, so you're going to practice with household chores. Okay, and we are also going to cover colors. Okay, los colores. Los colores, they are adjectives. Okay, they can be nouns. When you just name them, this is the color blue, the color red. Okay, they are nouns. Okay, when you're talking about the name of the color, and these here are the names of the colors: amarillo, marrón, or in Mexico, I don't think they use the word marrón for brown. They use the word café. Okay, coffee. Okay, but in some countries in Latin America, in the Spanish-speaking world, they use the word marrón. In Argentina, we use the word marrón, but you can also say café. Okay, anaranjado is the color orange. Blanco is the color white. Negro, black. Beige is beige. Azul, blue. Gris, gray. Rosado, pink. Morado, can't really see the color there, but it's purple. Verde, green. Y rojo, red, rojo. Okay? Okay, so these are the names of the colors, but they can also be used as adjectives when you describe something and you say what color that something is. When you use them as adjectives, remember that they have to agree in number and gender with the noun that they are describing. Okay? So some of them end in a vowel, and some of them end in E, in the vowel E, and some of them end in S. So how do we know which ones are feminine or masculine? Okay, okay. Amarillo is masculine. Anaranjado, you use that word for something that is masculine and singular. If you want to make it plural, you add an S. Amarillos, anaranjados. Blanco is also masculine, and masculine is negro. Azul is neutral. You can say that something is azul if it's feminine or masculine. Okay. Beige, the same thing for either one. Gris can be masculine or feminine. And verde, masculine and feminine. It's neutral. Oops, what did I do? I clicked on the wrong spot. And so verde can be masculine and feminine. Morado is masculine. Rosado is masculine. And rojo is masculine. So the ones that end in O, to make them feminine, if you're describing something that is feminine, you're going to change the O with for an A, okay? If you're describing la casa, you're going to say anaranjada. And if it's something plural, you're going to add the S, okay? Remember that when you have an adjective that ends in a consonant, to make the plural form, you have to add ES, not just the S, okay? Grises, azules, okay? What other one do you have that ends in a consonant? Gris, azul, marrón, marrones, okay? And the other ones that end in an O, amarillo or amarilla if it's feminine. Blanco or blanca, okay? And to make it into a plural form, you add the S. Okay, so remember that when you're describing something with colors, you have to remember to match the adjective to the noun that they are describing, in gender and in number. Okay? Muy bien. So you're going to practice with some activities in My Spanish Lab, and here you have the explanation I just gave you about how they have to match. They have to agree in number and gender. Okay? To ask what color something is, we're going to ask the question, ¿de qué color es? ¿De qué color es? ¿De qué color es la casa? ¿De qué color es la alfombra? ¿De qué color es el sofá? ¿De qué color es? Now, if you're asking about something plural, the question is going to be, ¿de qué color son? ¿De qué color son? Okay? Instead of es, okay? Because es is for él, ella, okay? So if you're asking about the sofás, you're going to have to say de qué, well, okay, de qué color son los sofás, okay? It would be ellos son, okay? Muy bien. So that is the question. So practice with your colors, describing different things around the house. And tomorrow we're going to continue with some expressions that you can learn with the verb tener. And we're going to continue with numbers and go higher. Okay? Muy bien. So do your work and we will see you tomorrow. Hasta mañana. Y vamos a continuar con el capítulo número 3. Okay? We're going to continue with chapter 3. Yesterday we ended with colors, and remember that colors can be nouns. When you name the color, this is the color red, this is the color yellow, these are the names, like we learned yesterday. Okay, these are the names of the colors. But they can also act as adjectives. Okay, colors are descriptive adjectives, and as such, they must agree with the nouns that they describe. So keep that in mind when you do the activities in My Spanish Lab and also in the quiz. Okay? Adjectives that end in O have 4 forms. Okay? The masculine, the feminine, and the plural masculine and the plural feminine. Okay? And the adjectives that end in a vowel other than O or in a consonant have 2 forms. Only the masculine and the singular and plural. Okay, verde, verdes, azul, azules. And these are used for feminine or masculine. Okay, and to ask the question, what color is it, or what color is something, or what color are some things. De qué color es, if it's something singular, or if you say las casas son blancas, the question is de qué color son las casas. Okay, son las casas. Muy bien. So we are going to continue with the activities in my Spanish lab, and we are going to look at some expressions with the verb tener. You already learned the verb tener, and it's coming back. Okay, it's a very common verb, especially because we use it a lot with expressions. Okay, the verb tener, besides meaning to have, is used in expressions. A lot of these expressions in English, if you notice here, okay, if you notice all of these expressions in English, we use the verb to be. Okay, we say, to talk about age, we say I am, 20 years old, or feel in this case, or to be careful. She is careful, or to be successful. They are successful. Okay, so in all these expressions that we use the verb to be or to feel, we use in Spanish the verb tener. Okay, one very common mistake that people make is when they are talking about age and they want to use the verb to be in Spanish. Okay, in Spanish we do not say yo soy 40 años. Okay, we use the verb tener. Okay, so all these expressions that we use the verb to be in English, we use the verb tener in Spanish. Okay, to talk about age. Susana tiene 19 años. Okay, tiene, the verb tener. Tener calor, of course, all these tener are in the infinitive, and we need to conjugate tener for the person. Tener calor is to feel hot. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Tener éxito, to be successful. Tener frío, to be cold. Tener ganas de, plus an infinitive verb. It means to feel like, I feel like eating ice cream, or I feel like swimming. Okay? Tener ganas de nadar, or tener ganas de comer. Okay? With the infinitive verb. Tener hambre, to be hungry. Tener miedo, to be afraid. Tener prisa, to be in a hurry. Tener que, plus an infinitive verb, means to have to do something. Tener razón is to be right. Tener sed, to be thirsty. Tener sueño, to be sleepy. Tener suerte, to be lucky. Y tener vergüenza is to be embarrassed. Yesterday or Monday, we learned that the combination G-U-E, in that combination, the U is not pronounced, okay? But in some words, it is pronounced. So when you see these two little dots on top of the U, it means that is an exception to the rule, and the U needs to be pronounced, even if it is a G-U-E combination, okay? So we say vergüenza, vergüenza. If it didn't have the two little dots, it would be vergüenza, okay? Vergüenza, to be embarrassed, okay? So, for example, you have a dialogue here. Mamá, tengo hambre, okay? I'm hungry. Tienes suerte, you are lucky. Okay, so tener needs to be conjugated for the different persons. Okay, muy bien. So learn the expressions with tener, and please don't use the verb to be like we do in English, because if you do, it sounds really strange and it doesn't mean anything in Spanish. Okay, it doesn't mean the same. Muy bien. Okay, so you're going to have some activities with that, like here. I think you have in my Spanish lab. You have to describe these people, okay? What is it, how they are, or what's going on. He is lucky, she's in a hurry, he's hungry, and all those different things. Okay, so you have some activities, and more activities, and we are going to go to numbers, okay? Muy bien, los números de mil, 1000, we ended last chapter with 1000. Los números de 1000 a 100 millones. 100 millones. This is 100 million. Okay, 100 millones. That's how we say this number in Spanish. Okay, so we have 1000, and we can combine 1000 with all the numbers that we know, that we learned before. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1010, 1020, 1250, 1000, and then you combine the other numbers that you learned, okay? And of course, then we have 2000, and 3000, 4000, 5000, 6000, 7000. Everything that you learned before plus 1000 makes it 1000, okay? 30,000, 100,000, 100,000, okay? 100,000. And notice that with 1000 and with 100, we don't use the word one, uno, okay? We just say 1000. We don't say un mil or un cien, okay? 1000 or 100. 100,000, we have 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, and then we go up to 1 million. Un millón. It's not uno, but un millón. Un millón. Okay? Un millón, because this is not the word for one, it's a word for a million. A million. Like the articles that you learned in the first chapter. Okay? Un millón. 2 millones, 3 millones, 4 millones, and you combine with the lower numbers. 1,432,000, okay? And we get to 100 millones, okay? 100 millones, and combine with whatever you want with the lower numbers, okay? Muy bien. So, to state numbers in the thousands, such as these states, we use mil, and then followed by the hundreds in the masculine form if needed, and the tens and so on, like 1492, 1950, 2012. Okay? Muy bien. If we are counting and the numbers are an adjective, you say, I have 1,492, what would it be? Apples, okay? Manzanas is feminine, okay? So we would have to say 1,492, okay? 1,400. The hundreds, okay? The hundreds have to agree with the number and gender, okay? Muy bien. All right, so you're going to practice some with a lot of numbers, okay? And you're going to be looking at some prices of very expensive houses and practice with those numbers, okay? Muy bien. So I think that is all for today. And you also have, I believe you have this activity, I'm not sure, in my Spanish lab. And tomorrow we are going to start. Oh, tomorrow is the cultural note, and we are going to work a little bit with I, how to state that there is or there are, okay? With this one little word you can talk about there is in the singular or there are in the plural, okay? Muy bien, so I hope you get to do your work, and we will continue tomorrow, okay? Hasta mañana. Hola, ¿qué tal? Okay, we're going to continue and finish up chapter 3, capítulo 3. Okay, so yesterday we ended with numbers up to 100 mil millones. Okay, and so, or 100 millones rather. So here you have some numbers on this page that you can practice saying, some of these big numbers. Like this is the population of the different provinces, or different cities rather, in Spain. Like in Madrid, which is the capital, and this big number would be 2,824,000. Barcelona, 1.454.000. Okay, and so on. So I hope you got some really good practice with those big numbers. You are going to do a nota cultural about las casas verdes, and this is written in Spanish. There's a lot of cognates, so you should be able to understand a big percentage of what is said here. It's not always about understanding every single word at this level, but understanding the main idea of what they're saying. And the last thing we're going to do is work with describing what there is or there are in a room or in any place, okay? So we saw a little bit of I in Capítulo 2, Chapter 2, when you learn to describe the classroom. There is or there are. In Spanish, we use the same expression for either one, for plural or singular. We use the verb haber, which conjugated is I, okay? There is or there are, okay? So the irregular form I comes from the verb haber. So you can say there is one bathroom in my house. Hay un baño, and this is a singular, it's just one, so we say hay un baño. And when we have something in the plural, in English you have there is or there are. In Spanish we use the same word. Hay 4 dormitorios también. ¿Hay 3 baños en tu casa? No, no hay 3 baños. So there is or there are is expressed with the word I. Okay? So, for example, when we want to ask how many whatever is there or are there in a room, the question would be cuántos, and you already know question words. So you're going to say cuántos, for example, if you want to ask how many Spanish books. ¿Cuántos libros de español hay? ¿Cuántos? Because libros is plural and masculine, okay? ¿Cuántos libros de español hay? Hay 30 libros de español. Puertas is feminine and it's plural, so we need to use the form cuántas. Okay, ¿cuántas puertas hay? ¿Cuántos escritorios hay? Okay, and the answer is always going to be I, and then the number and the object that we are talking about. Okay, so you have a few activities in my Spanish lab to practice with this, and this is the end of Capítulo 3, and I hope you have a really good weekend, fin de semana. Get all your work done on time, and we will continue next week with Chapter 4, Capítulo 4. ¿Ok? Bueno, hasta luego. Chao.